going on, guys? Welcome to the video. Welcome to my 1986 Porsche 9 or Porsche, depending on how pompous you are and how you want to pronounce it, 944. So if you've been following the channel for a little while, you know that we picked this 944 up in Dallas about a month ago. And if you guys want to watch that video, watch the whole video of us picking it up and kind of some of the reasons why I chose a 944 as a project car versus something different. I'll go ahead and put the link in the description below. But I figured before we kind of dive into it, because I've already got a bunch of parts on the way, and I figured before we start tearing this car apart too much, I should do a first review on it, like the first review of what it's like now, all the kind of quirks it's got, and that way by the end of this, very tedious and very long build, I'm sure it's going to be, we'll be able to do a little comparison, a little before and after what it's like. So old school review time! So like I said, what we've got is a 1986 Porsche 944. So you're dealing with 150 horsepower and then 141 pounds of torque. And, the world we live in is a lot different than the world of old, we live in a world now where 400 horsepower is the standard, and honestly 400 horsepower now is a little too low. And times were simpler back in the 80s, 400 horsepower was an unattainable number by normal cars. And so count your blessings if you have a Mustang GT or a Camaro SS and you think your car's too slow. Because you don't quite know what slow is until you drive a car with 150 horsepower, and then you're like, this is what it's like. Yeah, this is different. Honestly, my favorite part about this car is just the methods behind it. Just the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, naturally aspirated up front. You could have gotten a turbo version, which honestly is the better one to get, but you can't get a running turbo for $1,200. But just super lightweight. I mean, I love Porsche's just thoughts. I love where they choose to save weight. The car has aluminum lug nuts, magnesium door pulls, which all break because it's magnesium. But again, I don't know if magnesium was just plentiful back in those days or if it was because of a weight saving thing. But they just chose to save weight in different places. My other favorite thing is just the innovation that this car, had. I mean, this is one of the first cars with, first mainstream cars with engine in the front, transmission in the back, like you see in a lot of Corvettes these days. And just cool to see that Porsche was thinking of these things in the 80s. And, whereas now the goal is big horsepower, back then it was weight distribution. I mean, this car is a perfect weight distribution, which is, you don't quite understand what that means until you drive a car that is just nimble and taut. I mean, this car is, you flick it and you just put it exactly where you want it to go. I literally can't see anything in front of me right now, but it's okay. So moving on to the interior of this thing, it's a lot of 80s. I mean, this, Blaupunkt stereo and everything's made of plastic and it doesn't work, but this was nice back in the day. This was a nice car back in the day, and it is still nice. I mean, you have leather seats, which are, well, one, they're cracked to heck, but what are you gonna do? It's black leather seats on a black car in Texas. It'd be a miracle if these seats were in good shape still. The driving position is actually really, really good, and grind second, but where you sit's really nice. And even though, as the years have gone by, Americans have gotten a little bit bigger and cars have gotten bigger to accommodate, it isn't uncomfortable. I mean, I am a big fella and I have tons of room in here. I even have to scoot the seat forward a little bit. Granted, the back seats are rendered unusable, but I mean, apart from, again, very, very big cars, back seats are unusable in pretty much any coupe. So, I mean, this one is definitely no different. I don't know how anybody has ever sat in the back seat of one of these things. It's super bright outside. So, while I can't see what we're doing, I'll tell you a story about the back seats real quick. So, you gotta go watch the other video to know kind of the backstory behind this car, but basically my dad had 2 of these, and this was one of the first cars that I ever remember, and that's why I chose it, because it was kind of the car that got me into cars. And my dad told me a story about how he used to daily drive one of these, and as I was making fun of the back seats one day, he said, you know what, I used to ride in the back seat, there was no seatbelts in that back seat, I could have died. But he used to have my baby sister in this seat, in the baby carrier, in the passenger seat, and then I sat in the back seat of this thing all the time. And not something I remember a whole lot. I remember certain bits and pieces about the car, but just, you know, cool these things got used for, you know, everyday use. I mean, this was an everyday Porsche. You know, it was a little bit bigger than a 911. You know, it had more room in it than a 911, and at a lot more affordable cost than a 911. And it was still, you know, what a lot of still people say was a truly great Porsche. And the cool part about it, it's very Miata-y. You know, it's very light and flickable, but, you know, not a lot of power, but what you lack in power, you make up for with momentum. Once this car gets going, you can't stop it. Once you get this thing up to speed around the corner, you don't need the brakes anymore. You just let the car do the work. You know, and speaking of letting the car do the work, it's so analog. I mean, you have so many nannies these days controlling what you can and can't do with a car. And it's cool to be back in a car where literally there's no electronics, there's no ABS, there's no nothing. You know, there is you and your feet and your hands. Such a good little car. I mean, cosmetically, visually, the outside is one of my favorite things in the world. Something about that nose, just that real slanted nose, is just classic Porsche. And I feel like one of the things they really got right with this car is just the proportions on it. Just, I mean, long nose, short butt. I just feel like, I don't know, you know how like when you look at a car and if something's wrong, you can see it immediately. It's like, okay, so there's something wrong here, but you can't tell what, you know, and it's the proportions of the car, and something is just not right the way it looks. And I don't know, I mean, obviously, you know, to each their own. I'm sure someone watching this is going, oh my god, that's the ugliest car in the whole world. But to me, in all seriousness, guys, it is one of the prettiest. You know, plus, another one of my favorite things about the outside of this car, I mean, pop-up headlights. I don't know why pop-up headlights aren't a thing anymore, because they're just better. They're like flat-bottom steering wheels. It's there. I have two now. I have two essential things to a perfect car. It has a flat-bottom steering wheel and pop-up headlights. Pop-up headlights are better. You know, in a world right now that's just so much, that's so full of craziness and harshness and bad things, and it's cool to, I don't know, it's just fun to drive something like this that just kind of takes you back in time to a more simpler time. And it's a simple car, and it just makes you happy. It just, driving this car, I don't know how to describe it other than it just makes you smile. It's just fun. And then everything's so light, the downshifts are so easy, and we avoid second. It's fall, it's September. September's not a second gear kind of month. September is more, you know, third gear territory, so we go first to third a lot in this car. So, I could use a transmission eventually. But, right now, she's fine. You don't need to rip it from first to second because you're not racing anybody anyways. It's just kind of, that's all it does. And then you're good to go. And then you can wave at people. They don't think you're a hoodlum because you're driving a Porsche. You know, the one thing that I will say, and because I'm sure someone's going to say it, and it's true, is the only negative about a car like this, buying an old, you know, I mean, this car's 31 years old, is parts. And there's just no way of getting around that. You know what you're getting yourself into when you buy a car like this. They're just more expensive. I mean, even small things as small as these little trim rings that go around some of the buttons on the dash are $40 and $50 for a piece of plastic the size of a quarter. And it just comes with the territory. It's something that, as long as you know going into it that it's going to be expensive to fix and build, then it's okay. So just fair warning now, if you're, you know, see this video, or if you're in the market for a 944 and you've never shopped for one before and you don't really know a whole lot about them other than it's a good little, you know, sports car, I urge you, go on eBay and do some parts hunting first before you buy a car, because you might change your mind super fast. So, but if you do get one, or you want one, it's so much fun. Oh, it's such a good little car, man. It's cute. It's happy. This car needs a name. It doesn't have a name yet, but it will. It will have a name. Anyways, guys, that does it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys want to follow this car and see the whole build on it, definitely make sure you subscribe for more Porsche related videos, and I promise I'll be kicking some more out now that this hurricane's gone. So thanks you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.